The brand new LEGO Sith Infiltrator, a controversial one to say the least. Today we'll find out whether or not this set is worth picking up. Is it really too expensive, and is that Maul minifigure really that bad? Let's get into it. For once, I have to say I genuinely dislike the way this box looks. As a graphic designer myself, I do not think this is the way to go for several reasons. Later in this video, I'll go more into that, as I actually made some alternative designs similar to my X-Wing box art video from a while back, so stay tuned. Anyway, that aside, it shows off the ship along with the included minifigures and the exclusive 25th anniversary figure in the form of Saw Gerrera. Nothing too crazy going on the back, just another angle of the ship with play features as usual. Opening this up, we're getting 7 numbered bags, an instruction manual, and no sticker sheet, which is a big surprise to me, definitely a plus. Now let's go ahead and put this ship together. First off, the objective information about set 75383, Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator. The set came out on May 1st this year as part of the May 4th wave of Star Wars sets. It's part of both the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars as well as the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace. It includes 640 pieces and retails for $70, 70 euros, 60 British pounds and 90 Australian dollars. This brings us to a value of about 11 cents per brick, which on its own is what we're used to seeing with LEGO Star Wars. The set weighs 432 grams, meaning per gram of LEGO you're paying about 16 cents. That's on the high end within the range we're used to. It comes with 4 minifigures, all of which are brand new and updated versions, the highlight being Saw Gerrera. These are the spare parts I ended up with, and the instruction booklet has a total of 154 pages. Now, if you weren't aware just yet, this ship is based on the Scimitar, also known as the Sith Infiltrator that Darth Maul uses during The Phantom Menace. We see it only briefly in this movie, but it's also in Battlefront, where we get a much better look. It was really quite a special and heavily modified starfighter, so much so that Palpatine appropriated it after Darth Maul's demise. And we've had several LEGO versions of this ship over the years, so let's go and see how this one holds up. First, however, the minifigures. We'll begin with Saw Gerrera. This, in my opinion, is a fantastic figure. The essence is captured just perfectly and in great detail. Maybe the earth green color might not be the most accurate, but I think it does the job just fine. The printing on the torso flows nicely onto the shoulder piece. That looks really good. He's got the prosthetic footprint on the leg piece and even has a printed cloth cape. Very, very solid, although it doesn't always stay down properly. You need to kind of fold it a little, I guess. But I think they nailed this figure, and I can see why this might be the reason to pick up this set. We never had a Saw Gerrera figure before, after all. Next, we have young Anakin Skywalker, and while this might not be a super extravagant minifigure, he still looks pretty much spot on. I really don't see what could be improved here. The details are nice and accurate, the hair is nice, and he's got 2 different facial expressions as well, one being a bit scared. Then Qui-Gon Jinn, another banger in my eyes, very similar to previous versions, but hey, it worked well then, so it works well now. He's got a cloth poncho, which is great. It's a very distinct part of Qui-Gon's outfit in the movie. The printing on his legs, though, isn't everything. The color doesn't really match the tan torso, which is unfortunate. People also pointed out to me how on the box, the poncho piece is a completely different color, which is also weird because that is actually the wrong color. It's not supposed to be dark brown at all. Very interesting, but anyway, Qui-Gon, as expected, has 2 facial expressions as well. Overall, just a super solid figure. And then finally, the thing many people aren't very happy about, Darth Maul. I'm gonna be real with you, I'm not too bothered by the eyes not having pupils. If you consider that normal LEGO figures only have pupils, it never really made sense to me how some figures do have eye white, so to speak. In this case it would be orange, but same thing. It's kind of just a weird situation. I wouldn't want my Qui-Gon to look like this. It's a preference, but I think there's a good argument for either option, and like I said, I'm not too bothered by it. I think it looks just fine. What I personally would have liked to see here is a hood and cape. I think having the option to swap that out for the horns would be nice, especially because in the movie, he absolutely does have them. Missed opportunity, I think, but for what this is, I think he still looks pretty cool. Now on to the building experience. I could best describe this as just your average Star Wars playset build. Not too challenging, but overall just fun. There's no crazy building techniques, it's pretty straightforward. The front area was kind of satisfying though, the way all these plates come together to make a rather clean pattern. In total, I spent about 1 hour putting this together. Now let's finally talk about the ship itself, because there's plenty to say here. First off, with the wings folded out, it measures 30 centimeters high, 27.5 centimeters long, and 20 centimeters wide. It is small. I already knew it was going to be small, but in hand it is even smaller than I expected. When I first saw the set images revealed, my honest reaction was, oh, that's not too great looking, but it really kind of depends on from what angle you're looking at it. From above, I think it looks great. Really good, actually. But then from the side, I'm kind of disappointed. So I'd say the overall shaping is slightly off, but we'll compare all of that with the real thing in just a minute. Now, the whole front section of the Sith Infiltrator looks pretty sleek actually, especially like I said, from above. I like the color separation of the dark and lighter gray. It's just from the side you have this bump over here, which it's just very inaccurate. It's not supposed to be this thick. It's really got to be flat and streamlined. There is a reason for this, thank God, because there is a play feature right here. If you open up this ramp, you can find these little probe droids, which can be dropped from the bottom of the ship by slightly pushing over this little slide. The probe droids will yeet the hell out, ready to scout for anomalies. A rubber piece is used to keep the slide in place, which is a pretty neat little trick if you ask me. It is a nice little function, I'm just not sure if it was worth this big of a design flaw as far as looks go. I personally could have lived without it, I think. There is another play feature here that you could pretty easily miss. If you push down on these ingot pieces, you activate the spring-loaded shooters at the nose of the ship. And can I just say, this is freaking perfect. It's really satisfying that you're pushing an actual button, kind of, and also it's hidden so well. I absolutely love this, it is perfect. And finally, there's one last simple feature here, the landing gear. These can be easily extended like so. It's nothing special, but it works, I guess. It's nice to have. Now moving towards the base of the ship, this whole section looks really nice to me. There's tons of tiled off pieces, making it look really nice and clean. This printed dish piece also looks fantastic, although it is unfortunate that the dark gray is slightly off compared to the bricks. It almost looks more like the old Lego dark gray color, which is interesting. These little transparent red pieces are very good too, that's accurate to the real thing, along with some greebling type detail in between the bigger elements. The wings can of course fold in and out. They're not as rounded as the real scimitar, but given its scale, I think it's more than good enough. It looks really fine. Then if you open up the cockpit like so, as a bunch of different hinges, you'll find Darth Maul's speeder as seen in the movie. It looks nice. It's a very simple build, but it does what it needs to do. It's accurate enough, I guess, for its size. You can place Maul on it pretty easily, and the whole thing can be put back into the cockpit of the ship. The whole thing. It's a close fit, but it fits. Even his lightsaber can be stored on either side of these clips. That is really good. I like that. The cockpit in general isn't anything special though. It's just a control panel with a print on it, which is nice, I guess. The bottom of the whole thing isn't too pretty. It's slightly messy also from the side, but to be fair, it is the bottom, so it doesn't really matter. The ship is very sturdy, however. It's very solid. You don't need to be scared of small pieces falling off. I'd say it is just incredibly play-proof. So, well, that is the Scimitar, the Sith Infiltrator. Now let's see how screen accurate it is. This isn't an Ultimate Collector Series set, but it's still nice if they look accurate, and in some ways, it really is. Most notably, the coloring in particular is really well done. You can tell that the patterns just match beautifully. All the important details are in place, such as the red lights, the detail on the dish piece. The overall shaping is okay, but like I said earlier, this bump in the center is just all the way off. It does not look good at all. It's very inaccurate to the real thing. I'd go as far as to say that if this bump wasn't here, this could very well be a very screen accurate Sith Infiltrator. It just slightly ruins the look for me. Before going into the pros and cons and whether or not you should buy this, I first want to go into the box design a little bit more. And let's begin by explaining why I don't think this particular design works and what has worked in the past. The first thing that stood out to me was the size of the ship itself. At first, it might not be too obvious, but once you strip away certain elements from the box, you begin to see how small it actually is displayed, and how much space on the front is being wasted. The ship is also positioned quite far to the right side rather than being centered, and that's mostly due to the Saw Gerrera minifigure in the corner. This is what I think is a culprit for the questionable design. The error of which we now learn is the composition, basically where stuff is located, the size, proportions, texts, imagery, details, and the relation between all of those. Additionally, I don't think this Tatooine background works well at all. There's no contrast to be found here, so the ship doesn't really pop out of the box like whatsoever. I was actually gonna make a whole video about this, but then I randomly ended up in the hospital for a week, so I wasn't able to finish that, unfortunately, but here we are. These are some of the designs I made. Obviously, they're not in line with the recent Star Wars sets. I just kind of went my own route with the box style, because I can. But I'm just imagining seeing this on shelves and thinking, yeah, yes, that is a set I want to buy. I think Lego's design might actually hurt sales. It just doesn't look that appealing to me at all. But hey, that's just me. This set is an interesting one. As a whole, I like it a lot, but there's just a few too many shortcomings which hold me back from saying you gotta buy this. It's gonna depend on your own priorities and taste. Let's get into the pros and cons.
Pros and cons.
Parts of the design are really good, basically everything but the bump in the middle. It's a really funny situation though, because from above it looks kind of amazing. But anyway, it's got a bunch of playability to it as well, which is great, especially those spring-loaded shooters. I'm still blown away by those. For the cons though, these are some tiny small things of course, but the tiny little errors like printing colors on that dish piece, Qui-Gon's legs. It's small stuff, but it does add up. Also the colored pieces inside the probe droid hull that's just really distracting and so unnecessary. The pieces in here could have easily been gray because some of those were in the very same bag. One or two minifigures might have been nice to kind of justify the price too. Maybe Padme or Captain Panaka. And if not that, maybe Darth Maul could have been done differently, whether that be adding the cape and hood or the eyes. That varies from person to person, I guess. And then the biggest, most important one, the price. Even though the price per piece sounds fair, I hold this thing in my hand looking at the figures. This is absolutely not $70 in my eyes. I cannot pretend like it is. I mean, look at this. This is it compared to a $50 X-Wing. Like, what? Doesn't even compare. So to buy or not to buy, I can't wholeheartedly recommend this, but I still am very happy that I have this. I like it myself. $70, nah. Maybe you feel the same or differently, that's for you to decide. And I guess for today, that is pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell not to miss a single future video, then I hope I'll see you in the next review.